Hello, beautiful, powerful soul. I'm so excited to be connecting with you this morning. As always, or as often, I just had to hop on here spontaneously when I had the time. Couldn't let you know that I was coming on in advance. I know that sometimes that's frustrating because people want to be able to join me live, but the nature of life with two little children is such that I kind of got to grab my opportunities when they come. And also, I'm just going to preface this by saying that I hope that this live works because I'm in the middle of a huge thunderstorm and my internet is spotty on the best of days. Okay, I want to talk to y'all about the energy that I feel. I reported on it. Hi, Anne. Anne. Hi, Anne. I reported on it in the last two weekly energy reports as well as the August monthly energy report. But I had an experience this weekend that was unsettling for me. And it was after I even recorded those energy reports where I got a glimpse beyond the matrix that I wasn't really prepared for at the time that I had it. And what it ultimately felt like, you know, instead of trying to describe the visuals or whatever, that was so impossible. But what it ultimately felt like was a very unsettling realization and understanding at an even deeper level than I've had previously, that this realm, this reality is fading away, that the old version of the world that we are used to is sort of, it's just like the almost like the empty echoes that we are living out. And I already knew that conceptually. I've known it for, well, I guess, whatever, who cares how long I've known it for. We all know it, but I felt it. And it was unsettling, but it wasn't sad. It was, hi, Taneri. Hello. It was unsettling, but it wasn't sad. Nothing bad was happening. It was just this realization that the constructs that we have come to know life through. Oh, and it's 11:11 here. And the identities that we have carried around ourselves, like the beliefs around our identities, the beliefs around our social constructs, the notions that we carry, the ideals that we prize, all of these are over now already. And we just had a very important astrological occurrence. It's probably still happening, but its peak was on August 1st, which was an exact timing with this experience that I had. It was the Uranus North Node and Mars conjunction in the sign of Taurus. And, you know, I'm not an astrologer, so I'm not going to break that down. There are like a ton of things on Instagram, probably Facebook, YouTube, certainly, to explain, you know, the components of this astrological event. But what it really felt like to me is a line that was drawn in the sand where I can really distinctly feel that the false matrix it's over. We're just living out echoes of it now. The false matrix is over. The things that we understood, the ways that we interfaced with reality, the things that we've built are ending. They are dissolving. And let me just gather my thoughts here to make sure that I'm saying what I want to say, because it can sound like the reason I'm hesitating is I'm worried that I can sound like a big bummer and a big like doomsday and whatever. But it doesn't feel like that. It feels a little bit like a period of innocence and unconsciousness has come to an end. It's over now. Does that mean that everybody is conscious? No, definitely not. The majority of humans are still operating at a level of unconsciousness, and it's fine. It's perfect the way it is. We don't have to sweat that. We don't have to worry about it, but they can feel it too. They can feel the dissolving of the false matrix. And it's creating, I believe the unsettledness that I felt even though I've been aware of this for a while, was probably just tapping into the way it feels for all of us. It's like our egos wanting to clutch on to the things that we've once known, because our egos are afraid that it's like the ego's worst nightmare is going to be realized, and its worst nightmare is finding out that it was never real to begin with. And I think that was the unsettling feeling that I felt. And I believe that a lot of people are feeling this, whether they're conscious of it or not, that there are a lot of people who are feeling the old world slip away, feeling the values that we could once cling to dissolving. And it's really easy to point our finger at the, like the evolution of various sort of like social agendas or whatever as being the problem. Like what I mean in particular is, for example, if you were like a good old boy or a good old gal, and you kind of had like down to earth, salt of the earth sort of like Christian values, you could, for example, look at the trans and gay social movement as being like an erosion or a degradation of the values. Like you could see it as that, right? You could point your finger. Even though that's not what it is. It's all symptomatic of the same evolution. Or if you are very progressive, you could look at the recent Roe versus Wade decision and say that that is eroding our freedoms and our right to like bodily reproductive autonomy. It's very easy to point our fingers at a different group or a different sort of social engineering agenda as the reason that our old world is dissolving and disappearing. However, as I said, they're all symptomatic of the same evolution. And I understood this weekend that, again, on a deeper level, that this is all a holographic dream projection. It is a collective dream. And what it feels like is that the dream is shape-shifting. And we, as characters in the dream, we completely believed the dream. And so as it shapeshifts, we're fucking freaking out. We're like, like I'm not real, or like the touchstones that helped me to feel grounded in this reality are dissolving. And I don't mean that the earth is literally dissolving, although probably on some level it is. But what I mean is like, it's just that weird moment. Like for me, nothing really happened. This unsettling experience I had, nothing really happened. But what I could feel was the emptiness and the thinness, the energetic flimsiness of all the things that I was using to understand my reality and feel grounded. Nothing changed. There was no car accident, like nothing, you know what I mean? Like no event took place. It was just like, yeah, even talking about it is a little bit unsettling. I could just feel that the things that I took for granted as being, just always there. They provided my ego with a sense of security, and all of a sudden they weren't taken away. I could just see that they're not real and they are in the process of dissolving. So the false matrix is dissolving, and I'm hardly paying attention to any of the narratives going on. But I can see too, like when I catch snippets of people talking about it on, their content that they're creating or in conversations, I can hear that it's losing steam. Again, in no way am I saying that people aren't buying into it, because we all know, we can all see that many people are buying into it, but it's nonetheless losing steam. This whole dream reality is, it's shape-shifting. It cannot maintain those old constructs anymore. There's too much consciousness coming in. And so what I want to talk to you all about today is like how to cope with this. And to me, what it involves is a next level of tapping into and accepting our power and our creatorship and the role that we came here to play. So when I was having this experience on the weekend, I was realizing that like the thing I kept thinking to myself is like, none of this is real. Oh my God, none of this is real. And yet I was with my children and they were sleeping. And so when I would look over at them, I could feel like, no, they're real. And the genuine love that we share, that connects us, the love that we hold in our hearts, the love that we are, the love that we share, the love that we feel, that's real. And the way that our experiences within this realm have alchemized us and changed us, evolved and expanded our consciousness, that is real. We take that with us. But the rest of it, I was realizing, isn't real. And so as I was kind of spinning out on this question or this realization, like nothing is real, I was also met with the sort of counterpoint, which was probably coming either from my higher self or my guides, I'm not sure. But the counterpoint was like, well, okay, if nothing is real, then what are you creating? Because you're still here. And I realized in that moment, when that question came in, that what is being called of us, all of us, all humans, all of us, the ones who are awake and the ones who are not awake, is a very, very serious and profound level of ownership over the creative power that we have and personal responsibility for everything that we are creating. So it's kind of like there's a certain grace period that's run out where we could operate under a sense of illusion, like up until, honestly, it feels like literally August 1st for me, that we were able to operate under an illusion that things just happen to us, and that it's like we were allowed to keep our victim stories without having too much consequence. Like, we all have consequence for our victim stories. The consequence being that the pattern continues to play out as long as we hold those victim stories. But it kind of feels like the beings that surround us and influence us from the outside of this simulation they kind of like cranked the dial, and they were like, all right, and the victim stories are done. We can no longer hold on to them. And again, mark my words, people are going to try their damnedest to hold on to their victim stories, because that's how they perceive themselves. That's how they've understood themselves, as being like subject to unfortunate circumstances that, create unfortunate results for them. But the consequences of that are going to get more and more and more uncomfortable and overt, moving forward from here. And the antidote is to let go of our victim stories and take total ownership over this whole thing that we are creating. Not from a spiritual bypassy way, not like everything happens for a reason, because I don't actually know that it does, honestly. I don't know that everything happens for a reason, but what I have come to understand is that everything happens because we somewhere within us, it's kind of like what Abraham Hicks says, but it's like something within our consciousness, something within our belief structure matches that experience. And that can feel extremely abrasive to people because, if we take a really terrible case scenario, let's say somebody is kidnapped, let's say they're kidnapped as a child, right? And so, the obvious place that we get stuck as a human collective is to say, but Amy, how can that happen to a child? How, what, the child just has a belief somewhere within them that, is a match to experiencing being kidnapped and totally dishonored and like living through an absolute nightmare. And nothing about what I'm saying is suggestive that that child created it deliberately, or that they deserve it, or that, like suffering isn't real. That like it is real by virtue of the fact that anything any of us experiences is real because we're experiencing it. But at the same time, it's not real in the way that we think it is. It is a dream construct. And I guess what I'm getting at, I kind of showed up here without a lot of plans of what I was going to talk about, so please forgive me for my lack of eloquence today. But what I'm ultimately talking about is like that individual child is not necessarily like, hanging around on a subconscious level being like, oh, I'm a vibrational match to being kidnapped. It's that the collective consciousness body that we belong to still holds unmetabolized frequencies that match that. And then it plays out through an individual incarnation experience. And that isn't the same as saying that individual, deliberately created that for themselves. It's like we have to take ownership of the fact that everything that's happening here belongs to us. It belongs to us. It isn't some outsider that's doing it to us. We have to take ownership over it. And so it was an unsettling experience, an unsettling feeling. But when I really, let that question sink in, I started to feel a lot better, because it's kind of like, okay, if none of this is real, like actually real, if this is a holographic dream projection, and I am just, it felt like I hit another level of awakening, because it's never ending, constantly unfolding. I hit another level of awakening and gnosis of myself as, a fragment of the dreaming oversoul creator consciousness behind this. Then it's like, well, okay, then what am I creating? And therefore, what bullshit fucking stories am I continuing to feed? What, like, where am I scrunched up in my energy? Where am I harboring victim stories about how, this thing doesn't work out and that thing doesn't work out? And, like, where are the contractions in my field? Because I'm human too. I have them as well. And it's like really calling the bluff of the matrix. Like that is what we're being initiated into right now. And again, I really perceive that a lot of people moving into the fall are going to struggle with this a lot. The ones who aren't awake and really just want to believe the narratives and just want to be able to like carry on with the old thing. The ones who haven't given up on, various things. And I'm just going to give examples, but I'm not trying to criticize you or lump you in with them if you haven't given up on these things yet. There's like a million things that we have to give up that we haven't given up yet, But like, for example, the ones who haven't given up on the idea of going to the movies or being able to like veg out and watch our shows, like all of that is coming to an end. When? I don't know. I'm totally done with trying to predict times. I'll leave that to the astrologers. But the things that it's, it's like, okay, this is going to sound really somber. And I don't mean to be all like doom and gloom. That's not how I feel about it. I'm just kind of processing what I experienced. But it's kind of like receiving a cancer diagnosis and finding out that it's a terminal cancer diagnosis and that your odds are pretty fucking slim that you're going to live for very long, and so you make a decision. You're like, well, what am I going to do? And let's say you decide to opt out of chemo because, even if your cancer isn't advanced, chemo doesn't have great odds, and you also end up feeling like absolute rubbish, garbage, toxicity, you know? So what if you decide like, okay, I'm just going to accept that my death is coming sooner than I was expecting. And I'm going to take absolute sublime care of my body. I'm going to completely rearrange the way that I eat, the way that I spend my time, the way that I live. I'm going to focus on like, you know, certain like eating and cleanse, like say you're like, you decide you're going to do the Gerson therapy, you know, in place of chemo. But you also decide, if my days are numbered, but I don't know when my death is coming, I'm also going to just like live my best fucking life. And I'm going to go visit places that I've always wanted to see. I'm going to cash out my 401k. I'm going to go visit people that I love. I'm going to go take in some art and some live music. And even though I'm doing the Gerson therapy, I'm also going to occasionally let myself like enjoy some wine, or I'm going to let myself have pizza or whatever. Like I'm rearranging my perspective so that when I say that we have to give things up, I don't mean that we can't enjoy them. I mean like there's a world of difference between perceiving like, whoa, okay, I have this diagnosis and my life is probably going to end sooner than I was expecting. This is an analogy, okay? I'm not saying our lives are going to end. And I'm going to surrender to it, but I'm also going to support myself through it and maximize the time that I have available. That's a whole different energy than being like, whoa, shit, I have cancer. I have to listen to the doctor. Like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I need to do chemo. I need to and I'm also not criticizing anybody that's had cancer and has done chemo. This is just an analogy. But then like trying to clutch out of fear on all the things and like holding this idea that we're going to be able to keep going the way that we have, that like someday the cancer will be gone and oh my God, life will be back to normal. It's sort of just submitting to the reality that we're going through a massive transformation and evolution right now. And there is no going back. There just is no going back. It was so palpable for me this weekend. And I will say this too, just to illustrate the point that I'm very human and I am not like above these struggles myself. It's like I shared a while ago that in the fall and the winter, I had really intense autoimmune flare-ups. I have leaky gut. I have like gut dysbiosis, all that stuff. And what was I trying to say? I just got a message and it distracted me. So in the fall and the winter and the spring, I was being very diligent and meticulous about what I ate. And I was, whatever. I'm not going to detail my diet because you don't care. But when the summer came back, I started to little slippery slope things started happening. I started eating French fries, and then I started eating bread again, and then I started eating a lot of seasonal berries, which are very high in sugar and does not agree with me, and started drinking little tiny bits of coffee, and then all of a sudden, boom, my autoimmune stuff is back again. So it's a very similar energy. It's like accepting that the days are gone where we can just do this without thought to the consequences. And that we can still do it, but there are big consequences and they're getting bigger and they're getting heavier. So what we're being invited to do is call the bluff of the matrix heavily, really step into this level of creatorship where we acknowledge that we have a lot of power and we have not been utilizing it on an individual level and a collective level for since time immemorial. I can't pinpoint a time in my own trips into the Akashic field where I am sure that we're using that power. I suppose it's maybe Atlantis and Lemuria, but there were probably other times as well. But we have not been utilizing this power. We have allowed ourselves to be placated by the sort of like creature comforts of this version of reality, and those creature comforts are slipping away. So I am saying, enjoy them while they're here, but I'm inviting you to make no mistake, as I perceive it, that the time that we have available to use these creature comforts is running out, and furthermore, that it's more comfortable to voluntarily give it up than it is to be forced to give it up. And again, I'm not trying to criticize anyone, or like in no way am I trying to suggest we just suddenly have to throw ourselves into a state of like, monk-like asceticism where we don't allow ourselves to enjoy any of the pleasures that life has to offer. That's not what I'm getting at all whatsoever. It's just like there is a huge reevaluation that's happening around what things bring us joy and comfort. And we just can't draw on those old things anymore. And honest to God, like I feel like this is going to get more and more intense as the year winds down in like October, November. Ooh, I feel it getting hard because so many people don't want to give it up. So many people are going to want to fight and be like, we'll do the chemo, we'll do the vaccines, we'll do whatever we have to in order to hold on. And it's just not going to work. It's not the chemo in this analogy is not going to work. The only thing that works is surrendering and allowing ourselves to be totally transformed by this process. So now I kind of want to segue from like laying that foundation into something that I've been thinking about for a while, but that has a lot more clarity to me now, ever since the weekend, is the idea of ourselves as the saviors. What I mean by that is reality it's like a ship on the ocean, and it is being steered into a new direction. And I believe that it's going somewhere so beautiful that like everything that we're feeling right now, I mean, again, to bring it back to the analogy of cancer, which I've never had cancer, so maybe that kind of makes me an insensitive asshole for using this analogy, but it's on my mind. It's like, if you have a cancer journey and you like fully surrender to it, and you just like maximize every moment of your life, knowing that basically from a space of not taking it for granted anymore, because you know that it's probably going to run out sooner than you previously expected it would. Even though there's so much discomfort in that, and there would be like incredible low points and just like, sadness and grief and fear and all the things, we don't bypass, I don't believe we actually can bypass it. We can just sort of deny it and like push it to the side, but eventually we have to feel all those feelings. So it's not like it's a walk in the park, but on the other side of that experience, there's so much transformation. It's like there's so much beauty available through these hard passages. So much beauty, so much magic and activation available. And I feel like it is that way for us. So the ship is being steered in a beautiful direction, but it has to pass through the storms first. And we're kind of programmed to like just sit around and fucking watch Netflix. I'm kind of in a little bit of like a crusty mood about it. I'm not really sure why. I'm just going to go with it. But we're sort of programmed to like just keep on doing what we're doing and, not really change our lives, not really change our strategies, and just, keep watching Netflix and kind of like wait around for the powers that be to change it for us. And they're not. I mean, I think everybody in soul space anyway, I'm assuming, I could be wrong. But I think most people who would be interested in listening to me for ramble for 40 minutes, that we have all come to the conclusion that like the governmental powers that be aren't doing shit for us, right? Like we don't expect them to be the saviors anymore. That's a different part of the population that still is holding on to that. However, we still are kind of like waiting around for, I don't know, like the interdimensional beings to come and save us, or the it's like we're the light workers and we're like, oh, but the light workers are going to come save me, you know? I don't know if you know what I mean. It's just this feeling that I have, and it's self-directed a little bit too, of like, we are the saviors. We are the saviors. We incarnated to do this work. We are the cleanup crew. We are the answer. We are the ones who have the wherewithal to be extremely present in this scenario, in these circumstances, and lead the collective consciousness in the direction that it needs to go without like waiting around for everybody else to wake up, without requiring anybody else to get on board. We are the saviors. We came to clean up the mess that was created here. And I mean, at least for me personally, I'm not saying that it's like this for everyone, but I feel like I had a hand in making this mess. Because as I shared on my podcast, like I remember being one of the creator beings that created this realm. And so if I'm one of the creator beings, then I have to clean up this mess. I have to do my part to clean up this mess. I can't start a new game. I can't start a new realm until I've cleaned it up. You know, if anybody's a parent, like, you know, we try to tell our kids that all the time. Like, no, you can't take new toys out. You have to clean up your other toys first. Otherwise, it's just a gigantic disaster. We are the saviors. We came to clean up the residual quantum echoes of unmetabolized experiences, of trauma that kind of got lodged in our quantum field of our collective consciousness. You know, things that have not been witnessed, occurrences that happened in, you know, a plethora of lifetimes spanning through history that didn't get seen. It's almost like having mediumship work to do, but it's not always like ghosts. It's not always disincarnated people or like people that are not alive anymore that we're witnessing that. It's like, and I know a lot of people have already been experiencing this because I happen to be in conversation with a whole bunch of really brilliant people. And like, for example, one person, she was on a road trip with her parents, and she was just like, it's like she was energetically pulling all of this and not trying to, like she was just explaining what was happening, but sort of like pulling all of these emotions and these feelings and these experiences out of the landscape that they were driving through and out of like the towns and things that they passed through. And it was like she was cleaning up I don't really know how to describe it. Hopefully you know what I mean, but it's like these staticky echoes of things that happened, of pain that was felt, of confusion that was felt. And it's like the level of consciousness at the time that these experiences happened was such that the being that felt it, usually humans, because I feel like animals just instinctively know how to process their experiences, but occasionally it can be animals. But like, say for example, if somebody just got hit by a car and their level of consciousness, and say they didn't even die, okay? Let's say they got hit by a car and they didn't even die, just somewhere in middle America, small town America, and a part of their consciousness could never truly like fully metabolize it. They spent the rest of their lives trying to cope with the memory of it by sort of like taking painkillers for their injuries and kind of numbing out and like doing a certain amount of therapy to get rid of their PTSD, but not actually really going back into the memory and like reliving the experience so that it finishes processing through their field and then it's truly resolved. It's gone. Instead, they only feel it to a certain point and then they push it away for the rest of their lives. The rest of their lives, so much of their energy goes towards pushing away uncomfortable memories. Right? Then this person I'm talking about who was on a road trip is like, she would then connect with that residual quantum echo and she would process the rest of it because we are the cleanup crew. And these things have to get cleaned up. They have to get processed. We are the saviors. We are the answer to this whole conundrum. We are the ones that are steering the ship in the direction that needs to go. So we kind of have to get off our asses and, still engage in self-care, still allow ourselves to enjoy the little things in life. Again, I'm not trying to suggest that we can't have joy anymore at all. Like, I'm still going to take my kids to the beach. I'm still probably going to buy them French fries, but I'm not going to eat them anymore. But it's like we have to really take inventory of what we're doing and where we're still playing small and waiting for someone else to do the fucking work. Because guess what? There is no one else. If you're in my community and I've been talking for like 40 minutes or 45 minutes now. If you're in my community and you are still with me and you're listening to me, that means you're the cleanup crew. You are the savior. You are the answer. You are not contracted to be here in a state of, like unawakened unconsciousness within the dream until the very end. You are contracted. You chose to wake up at a certain point and assume your role. And the role is to step into our power, our creatorship, our ability to dissolve old constructs and dissolve old timelines consciously and then create new ones. We have to clean up the mess before we can create the new thing. So tomorrow and Friday, I am hosting a very affordable masterclass. The part 1 is free. So tomorrow, I think it's at noon Eastern, but whatever. I'll make sure it gets posted about, or maybe it was posted about yesterday. But at noon Eastern, I'm pretty sure I'm holding Activate Your Archetype part 1. And it's all about like what it even means to be an archetype, to activate your archetype, like what the benefits are, why you would do this. And then part 2 is a process to tap into your archetype, clarify what it is, and like pull it into your conscious awareness. Because that, I find that is like, I don't want to say essential because I don't want to create any weird scarcity or like perceptions that if you don't attend this class, you can't, you can't be in your power. That's not my intention at all. But I feel like donning your archetype, it's usually archetypes, is really, really, really beneficial. It's very supportive and clarifying towards stepping into these powerful roles that we chose to come into. And then the other thing that I want to tell you about, and if you're at I think it's the $33 a month level of Patreon, you just automatically get both parts, okay? So you get the free part and you get the paid part. Super cool. Sign up for the Patreon. Then the other thing that I want to talk about, and I'm going to be talking about this a lot more, but I'm feeling, so I have this program. It's called, it's not a program. I don't know how to describe these things. It is a thing. It is a process. I'm feeling a large group of extremely powerful souls who I'm wanting to bring together as an activated council. because the time has come for us to, as I said, assume our roles, to step into this. The time of idly playing human and just kind of letting things unfold is over now. The time to actively embody the power that we chose to bring into this incarnation is upon us. And when I tap into this, like when I first got this transmission about this, it's called Sourceress, the Answer. It was the awareness that, like, holy shit, like we have so much power that we can actually direct the weather. We can actually, and I don't care how stupid that sounds. I've done it myself before. I have changed the weather. But when we're doing it together, and it was like a long time ago when I was only semi-conscious of my abilities, when we come together, it's like, you know, the nefarious group, they have all this like weather modification technology. They have a bunch of technologies that they use to alter this realm of reality, whether we want them to or not. And I'm feeling very much like we need to come together and form a council that counters that, but it counters it not through technology, but from a state of internal mastery of our abilities and our gifts, and like the true accepting of the amount of power that we have. That we don't have to just sit by as passengers, passively watching this shit go down, but like we have actual things to do that, again, like it's like takes over the command of the ship so that it steers in the direction that we want it to go. And it, again, it's all centered around internal energetic mastery. And I'm feeling a large group of souls, and I'm calling you in. And this is 5 months of a very detailed, meticulous, methodical process to activate that level of power, to perform like incredibly potent grid work ceremonies, opening portals, opening stargates, dissolving constructs within this reality, you know, like quantum clearing, like I was talking about, ushering consciousness through these portals out of this realm. It's like being the cleanup crew, but in a very involved way. And I have to wrap it up here, but the energy that I feel around this is like, I see, it's like a round table. Like I'm using the word council very deliberately. I see this round table, and there are these throne-like chairs around the round table, and it is 4 souls who are like, yep, I can control the weather. Yep, I can open portals and move energy. And it's like an accepting of your throne and taking your seat at the table, because the time is now. It maybe sounds like I'm being sassy and giving threats, but I this is one of my gifts, is I can feel the leading edge of the energy when it's subtle. And then it just starts to compound and compound and get stronger and stronger. This isn't me just being like, it sounds like it's coming from me, but my awareness is that a line was just drawn in the sand. The old world, done, gone. It's no longer. And that there are a lot of people who are not contracted to wake up until the very last minute, and we just need to let them play out their, personal karma contracts, not worry about it. The rest of us, though, who are awake, it's fucking time. This is what we came for. You know it. You can feel it in your body, in your system. You were not just born here just to like live another life of shits and giggles or trauma and despair. You came for a reason, and the reason is here now. It's here now. So if this resonates with you, comment below and I will hook you up with the information. But this 5-month process of like really, really stepping into that throne, it involves like light language transmissions and activations. It involves, oh my God, there's so many aspects to it. Like I've never received anything so detailed. Literally a transmission of all these steps that, you know, for these various ceremonies and how to perform these things, how to step into these roles, like naming ceremony, receiving your totem, receiving certain activations, like clearing out like your own quantum clearing, your own vessel clearing, how to channel, you know, very, very powerful energy, all this kind of stuff. So again, I'll be talking about this a lot. I'd love to talk about it every day, but somehow in the land of parenting, it's like 3 days go by and then I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't talked about it. But I'm going to be talking about this a lot because it starts on August 27th, which is, I think it's a new moon, right? Yeah, it's a new moon. It starts on August 27th, the new moon. So there's going to be a lot more information or just like me talking about the energy and trying to translate it to you. But honestly, like, I guess the last thing that I want to say is, you know, I want to invite you, if this resonates with you, whether it's to join me or it's to just do something else and become part of something else, like, please stop sitting around and thinking in terms of like your limitations. Please stop. Oh my God, the limitations aren't fucking real. It's matrix programming. It's not real. So don't think in terms of the limitations of your time or the limit. Oh my God, if I could, like, I have limitations to my time. Believe me, I get it. Don't think about the limitations of your time. Don't think about the limitations of your energy levels. Don't think about the limitations of your budget. Don't think about, like, please don't think realistically, because that's what I'm saying. This shit isn't real. This whole fucking thing that we've created, this whole false matrix system isn't real and it never was. So why are we deferring to it to make the decisions for us about what we can and can't do anymore? It's ridiculous. And the line in the sand was drawn. And I just feel like we were very clearly like Mars and Uranus tag teamed with the North Node to be like, fuck you and your limitations. You don't get to play these victim stories anymore. And it's coming from a place of love, but it's just like, we cannot keep existing as cattle and livestock to an abusive false matrix and then be like, will someone come save us? No, we are the saviors. We are here to save us. And we're doing it on behalf of all of those who are not contracted to awaken until the very, very, very end. Okay? And we all have them in our lives. We all have loved ones who, you know, we're doing this for them. So, okay, that's it. I think I got all my sassiness out for today. I love you all. Thank you for sticking with me for an entire hour of my existential ramblings. And hopefully I see some of you tomorrow for the Activate Your Archetype Part 1. Again, Part 1 is free. Part 2 is $44 if you want to a la carte. If you want to sign up for the Patreon at the $33 level, then you get that one. Plus you get the Galactic Gateway. Plus you get the one for September, which is all about manifestation and timeline creation, which is going to be super dope. Anyway, okay. I love you. Mwah. I'll talk to you all again soon. Bye.